So what actually happens inside your brain during and after a really, truly terrible day? It turns out it's not just a feeling. Today, we're going to dig into the science that shows how a single, stressful event can leave a real, physical mark on your brain's chemistry. Let's dive in.
It's a heavy question, right? I mean, we've all had those days that just feel like they change us a little bit. But can one traumatic, uncontrollable event literally, physically alter our brain chemistry? Well, that is the core mystery we are unpacking today.
So this whole story starts not with an experiment, but with a really puzzling observation in humans. Scientists studying the brains of people who had suffered from depression found something that just didn't add up. A chemical that was acting in a way that defied all expectations.
Okay, to get this clue, we have to meet our main character, serotonin. Now, you've probably heard of it. It's often called the feel-good chemical. And yeah, it plays a huge role in mood, anxiety, happiness, the whole shebang. But as you're about to see, the story is way more complicated than just more is better.
All right, so if serotonin is the product that the factory makes, then TPH2, well, that's the factory foreman. Its job is to control the speed of the entire serotonin production line. The more TPH2 you have, the faster that factory can churn out serotonin. This foreman is absolutely central to the whole operation.
And here it is. This is the clue that started it all. Post-mortem studies found something really strange. In the brains of people who had suffered from depression, the number of these serotonin factory foremen, this TPH2, was way higher in one very specific part of the brain.
And that specific part of the brain is called the dorsal raphe nucleus, or the DR for short. You can think of this area as the brain's serotonin headquarters. It's this small spot deep in the brainstem, but it's the command center that makes and ships out serotonin to tons of other brain regions.
Now this just didn't make sense. I mean, if depression is linked to low serotonin, why on earth would the brain's main serotonin factory have more foremen on duty looking like it's ready to ramp up production? It was a total paradox, and it needed an explanation.
You know, this didn't feel like some slow, gradual change. Researchers suspected there had to be a powerful external force at play. Maybe a single, overwhelming event that was flipping a switch.
So the main suspect became severe, uncontrollable stress, the kind of experience where you feel totally and completely powerless. The big question was, could an event like that, just one, be enough to physically tell the brain to retool its entire serotonin factory?
Okay, so to test this, they came up with a really clean experimental plan. First, they'd expose rats to one single session of inescapable stress. Then, they'd just wait. And after a set amount of time, they'd look directly at the serotonin machinery in that key brain region. They measured everything, from the genetic blueprints for making TPH2 to the final TPH2 protein itself.
And what they found, well, it was pretty striking. The data painted this incredibly clear step-by-step picture of exactly how the brain responds to this kind of intense stress.
And get this, the results came in fast. Just 4 hours after the stressful event, the brains of the stressed rats were already pumping out way more of the TPH2 mRNA. Those are the genetic blueprints for the TPH2 foreman. The order had officially been sent. We need more foremen now.
And 20 hours after that, boom, the picture gets even clearer. The brain had followed through on those orders. The actual amount of TPH2 protein, the foreman itself, was now significantly higher in the stressed group. The factory had been fully staffed up.
Okay, but this raises a huge follow-up question. Is this just a temporary blip, or did something more fundamental just change? Did that one really bad day prime the brain, making it, more sensitive and likely to overreact to the next stressful thing that comes along? Well, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. When those rats that were stressed on day 1 faced a totally new stressor on day 2, their TPH2 response was way, way higher than in rats who were experiencing it for the first time. That first event had sensitized them, and you could see it in their behavior too. These primed rats were much more likely to just give up, showing more passive, helpless kinds of responses. But wait, the story doesn't actually stop in the brain. The researchers found another critical piece of the puzzle, one that connects what's happening in our head directly to our physical body. A single stressor, it turns out, didn't do much to the body's immune system, but when you combine it with a second stressor, you see this dramatic shift. The body goes into what's called a pro-inflammatory state. Basically, its internal alarm system goes off. Levels of a sound the alarm signal called IL-6 shot up, while a calm down everyone signal, IL-10, went down. And this is a really big deal.
It connects the dots between a psychological event, that feeling of uncontrollable stress, to physical changes in the brain's serotonin system, and then to a measurable response from the body's immune system. It's just a powerful, powerful example of that mind-body connection we hear so much about.
So, let's zoom out. What does all this research in the lab actually mean for us, for our lives? How do we take these findings and apply them to how we think about mental health and resilience?
Well, this research lays out a really clear biological pathway. A major stressful event isn't just a bad memory. It kicks off a physical chain reaction. It ramps up the machinery for making serotonin. This, in turn, can make the whole system hyper-responsive, and that physical change can lay the groundwork for future anxiety and depression.
Now, this is a super fascinating point from the researchers themselves. The old idea was pretty simple, right? Depression just equals low serotonin, a hypoactive system. But they're suggesting something way more nuanced. Maybe some parts of the serotonin system, especially the ones that drive anxiety, actually become hyperactive, while the parts that help us recover and bounce back become underactive.
So, here's the big takeaway. We might need to update our thinking. Severe stress doesn't just empty the serotonin tank. It can actually slam the gas pedal down in the wrong circuits, creating a state where the brain's anxiety and fear alarm system is on a constant hair trigger.
At the end of the day, what this research gives us is a tangible biological mechanism. It shows us, right down to the molecules, how profound life events don't just pass through us. They can leave a physical, lasting imprint on the very structure and function of our brains.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really hopeful question to chew on. If negative experiences like inescapable stress can literally build these hyper-responsive pathways in our brain, what kinds of experiences, things like therapy, community, or even just a sense of control, might help us unbuild them? What helps us rewire and build resilience? Now that is the critical next chapter in this story.